I want to talk about this a little bit. I've talked about this before, and just recently, Cutie Cinderella and Valkyrie talked about it on their podcast, and I'm so happy they did because I've only ever had this conversation with my friends who are over 30 or 35. We still don't know the long-term effects of streaming on your brain. Now, I can tell that long-term streaming has had an impact on my personality. But that being said, I've always been very extroverted. I've always been somebody very talkative. I think any job and any environment changes you a little bit. It's inevitable. I mean, look, you see it with Hollywood actors. You see it with singers. You see it with most jobs. Like, you kind of change a little bit with your job, especially when you do it for a while. But we currently don't really have any long-term effects of streaming on the brain, right? Because yes, there's also desk jobs where you have computer time, but with streaming, it's, especially at a high level, like you're reading, again, is reading chat and answering hard? No. But I definitely notice myself having a hard time focusing on tasks because I'm always kind of jumping from task to task. Even in a game, I'm having a harder time doing quests in games because I'm like, oh, I gotta make sure the momos are taken care of. I have a harder time completing long games, things like that. But for somebody like me, who's basically been streaming for look, I told you all that I went to a League of Legends tournament in Europe in 2014, and I was already streaming at that time. So, Twitch chat, but it's just Marcus Aurelius. Several elevators, I don't have my book in this apartment. I would read the passage about the pigs. So for me, typically doing like 2 days on, 1 day off works incredible. There's something really good about like 1 to 2, maximum 3 days in a row to get into the rhythm and then taking a day off. That just works really, really good for me. It resets my brain. Not more than like 3 days off because then it's harder to get back in. Another thing too, like I said, my good amount for stream is 6 to 8 hours. A 6 to 8 hour stream, I feel good. Once I get to 10 hours, that's when my throat starts hurting, my eyes start hurting, I start getting really tired, my back starts hurting. So now that I'm a much older woman, I definitely don't want to get over the 12-hour mark. But also a big thing that's helped me lately after streams is going to the gym either in the morning or at night. Even if it's something small, like getting on the treadmill or doing like Stairmaster, trying to go outside, it just gives me more energy for the day. And that helps a lot. Also, you know, it doesn't hurt that I'm living in a sunny place with great weather. It doesn't hurt that I have beautiful windows and I can see far and I'm happy. It doesn't hurt that I can bike to the beach and I'm gonna do so tomorrow, you know? I'm excited to see what are the long-term effects of streaming. I'm excited to see more people in their 40s and 50s who have been streaming for 20, 30 years kind of talk about how they think they're different from their peers. I do think having jobs where you don't have to interact with people in the real world makes a difference. And I already noticed this difference in my VTubing peers that are a little bit younger. I notice, you know, people get shy to answer. People don't know what to say. People don't follow up on emails. No. Which, by the way, that happens to me too. But I definitely notice it a lot more. And I wonder if it has to do with like not having been in an like, if you've never had to go into an office, if you've never had to work a part-time job, if you never had to just be at work, and if your boss, like, you can't not show up to work, your boss will fire you, right? So I wonder if that is also something that is going on. Streaming should be the last thing I do in my day because after streaming, my brain is off, right? If I stream even for 4 hours or 5 hours, I can't write an email. I can't do other stuff. I can do voice notes and things like that. I can like check little things. So what I like to do, wake up early, do, you know, a little bit of like cooking, get my exercise in, get some steps, talk to my family, maybe go for lunch, maybe do a Pilates class, and then jump in and do what I like to call the boring work. And I'm not proud of myself, but sometimes I will make my assistant sit on a call with me. And all I do is I share my screen And I'm like, this is my to-do list. Like, just make sure I don't open a video game and get bored or go on Twitter. Because what happens sometimes is like, I'll start planning the next week's collabs, right? And then I'll start DMing, for example, my friends. I'll be like, oh, what are you doing next week? Let's collab. And then they go, by the way, how have you been? It's been a while. And then you start yapping. And then you realize, oh my God, I yapped with my friend for an hour and I didn't do the work that I was supposed to do. So I like to try and do the boring work a little bit each day. I'm giving myself like 30 minutes, an hour. Sometimes I'll call Teak. I'm like, Teak, Sab is busy. Can you please just sit on call with me? And I just share my screen. And I'm like, I just need to get as much of this to-do list done as I can. And I just do it. So I like to do boring work, tiny bit of exercise in the morning, boring work into streaming, which is super freaking fun, into workout. I've noticed that working out after streaming really helps me sleep. Because sometimes after streaming, I almost have this like anxiety feeling from all the adrenaline, right? So doing a workout after, oh, it's so good. It checks out. Given how even part-time retail is a dead-end job, why aim higher? I agree, Mizu. Why? The internet is gorgeous and beautiful. Everybody should try streaming. Why not? Feels like your success in content is proportional to your ability to maintain discipline. In general, yes. Now, I think in most industries, luck plays a really big factor, and marketing. That's another thing that I think people forget, marketing, right? There's a million more talented singers than a lot of singers on the radio, but the singers on the radio are marketing the hit that people want to watch. They're putting in the hours, they're doing the tours, they're doing the promotional circuit, right? The talk show and the things. So you could be the most talented singer in the world, but if you don't write a song that would be replayable to or maybe your agent doesn't know how to like get your song on the radio because they refuse to play the game. So that's another one. But discipline, I think in general, discipline really helps. And I've talked about it before, but I mean, I think I'm one of the laziest and dumbest people I know. I'm a curious, lazy, dumb person. I'm a curious, lazy, dumb person. And if I can make it as a streamer and VTuber, everybody can. That's why when sometimes people come in for me to my stream and they're like, hey Matara, how do you stream? I'm like, if I could figure it out, if I could figure it out, you can figure it out. If I 13, 15 years ago was going on YouTube, how to set up OBS, how to blah, 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 how to do this, how to title YouTube video, how to make thumbnail, you can do it. You can do it too. I promise. Everything in my life I owe to Google.